everyone, I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour. Every week, I introduce you to a photographer that shares their tips and the stories behind their images to inspire you to look at a subject in a different light and to try something new. If you haven't signed up yet, you can join our newsletter at lindanickell.com/happiness hour. Tonight's guest is Jodie Schrier. Jodie is a portrait photographer who believes that photography is more than a photo session. It's an experience. Her goal is to capture not just images, but the unique essence and connection within every family and individual she photographs. With a background in dance and theater, Jodie brings creativity, energy, and a touch of playfulness to her work, turning every shoot into a joyful celebration of story and spirit. In tonight's presentation, Portraits of Resilience, Jodie shares the story of creating senior portraits for students experiencing homelessness. What began as a simple request became a powerful reminder of courage, resilience, and the ability to photograph and the ability of photography to honor dignity and hope. You can connect with her through her website at jodielanephotography.com. And if you're on Instagram, look for her at Jodie Lane Photography. Before I bring her up, I want to introduce you to Kevin Hogue, who is a member of a group called the Niconians. And just before we started, Kevin's one of our regular attendees. He's also done a presentation for me, for us. I said for me, but for us. And Kevin, if you want to come in and tell us about an opportunity that you're a part of, jump in here, please, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Linda, and greetings, everyone. Again, my name's Kevin Hogue. I've been with an organization called Niconians.org that is celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. It's a worldwide gathering of photographers, both amateur and professional. It's entirely an internet gathering, but in celebration of our 25th anniversary, we're hosting live meetups. And for those in the Texas area, we're hosting a live meetup on Saturday, October 25th in Austin. It'll be a morning of presentations and just social activities. I'll be doing a presentation on photographing the whooping cranes on the Texas coast. Breakfast is included in the morning, and then we'll be staying together, having lunch together, and then going to the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center for some afternoon photography. And for those that want to stay with us into the evening, some Blue Hour photography on South Congress Street in Austin. So again, this is coming up on the 25th of October. It's, of course, primarily of interest to Nikon shooters in the Texas area, but Niconians is open to photographers shooting other brands of equipment, so you don't have to shoot Nikon to be part of it. The organization is free to join, so you do have to be a member to attend this, but it is a free membership. Just go to Niconians.org on the internet. The event does have a cost involved. It's a $75 registration, as breakfast is included, and we are renting hotel space for the presentations and what have you, and there'll be coffee throughout the morning, what have you. So I think that's all I can think of right now, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you again, Linda, for the opportunity to share this exciting event coming up.
You're welcome, but before you leave, I know this one is in Austin, Texas, based, but you said that there are other ones coming up. Do you know off the top of your head? Just because
Yeah,
we do have viewers that are not necessarily from Texas, but
that's a
come
good
to
point.
Texas. It's fun. It's fun. But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, the next one after Texas is San Francisco, and that's November 1st. We are reaching the end of the year, so beyond that, you'd have to get on the website. Not only, I mean, Austin comes up front and center right now on their webpage once you join. Um,
yeah.
but then there's information on all the others. Many of them have passed. I think the first one was in London. The first U.S. one was in Atlanta. We've had them in Chicago and Boston. And I'm not sure what else is left. I think maybe Vancouver. I know
Okay.
that was one that was under discussion. So there might be one or two others. I know San Francisco is coming up.
Sounds like fun. All
Mhm.
right. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. Um, with that, thank you for letting Kevin come in and talk about his group. So with that, Jodie Schrier, thank you for being my guest. Um, how about you coming in? Let's see. Are you back here?
Yes.
There
Can you
you
hear me?
are. There you go. Yes, you just had to talk for your face to pop up. Okay. Thank you for letting us kind of cut into your thing. I was trying to figure out where to put Kevin because I wanted it to be kind of up in the front so
Mhm.
would catch that. Guys, I met Jody in, oh, when was that? April,
January,
February, January? Oh my gosh, was it
or
January?
maybe it was February, something like that.
It was early in the
Early.
year, and I was what's the word I'm looking for? I was shepherding, babysitting, bodyguarding somebody that was a speaker at a conference that Jody was attending. And I, just kind of sat quietly doing my bodyguarding roles. And if you knew who I was bodyguarding, y'all would laugh. But anyway, I was. And I don't even know really how this came about, but you came up to talk to one of the speakers. And I don't even know what drew me to you, but I asked you what type of photography you did. And you had said, I'm a portrait photographer. And the happiness hour, we try to hit every type of genre, subject
Mm.
matter. I'm partial to wildlife and flowers, and I can spend, a lot of time chasing stars if you let me. But people photography is something that I'm not interested in, but I find the portrait photographers some of the most interesting people to talk to because you're a people person and I like people. I just don't like photographing people. And so I don't know what made me ask you, but I asked you if you'd be interested in doing a presentation and you just jumped at it. I was like, well, that was easy. So here we are. And we were kind of talking about what you would speak about, and you kind of spewed out, well, I've been working on this project. I'm like, yes. And so that's why you're here tonight, is to share that project with everybody.
Oh,
In my intro, did I miss anything that you want to supplement?
no, that was great. That was
Okay.
very good. Thank you.
Um, yeah, good. So, all right, with that, I'm gonna let you take over the
Well,
screen.
can I thank everyone here real first
Of
before?
course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, Linda, I'm, I'm humbly grateful to be here. I just can't thank you enough. This is such a treat for me. And then to see all of these folks popping in, let me just tell you, I think it's safe to say every one of you in this little meeting here is probably has an extensive amount of experience versus me. So I am sitting here like, whoa, oh, like I feel like I'm in the presence of, royalty, and guaranteed I am that person that if I am in a room and I know you're a photographer, I will follow you around and attach myself to your coattail, just waiting for any type of information or knowledge that you'd share with me. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I admire so much of what y'all do. Just having been in it 4 years, now I see the other side of what it's like to be a photographer. That is a skill set I only dream one day of having like y'all do. So this is an honor. It really is an honor. So thank y'all for being here. That's all I want to say. Okay. So should I tell what brought this on before I share the
Yeah,
screen or share it?
absolutely. Yeah. Why don't you
Okay.
give us some back?
Okay. So real quick, like Linda had mentioned earlier, my background is in dance and theater. So um, both as a performer, but also as a choreographer. So a lot of my world consists of that type of creativity. You're creating a vision through lyrics and through choreography on a stage, and to evoke an emotion we have to come up with that so it translates to our audience. So through that process, I mean, obviously we're in touch with a lot of folks in the community that come to our shows and whatnot. And there was a particular individual that I had known for a very, very long time. He's a community leader, very much so in our area, and has done quite a lot with our school district in so many ways. And he left the school board after maybe 40 years and started his own nonprofit. I didn't know anything about his nonprofit. I literally I knew that that's what he was doing. And I got a call. Actually, it was another dance instructor that we were at an event together, and she said, "Hey, aren't you doing photography now?" And I was maybe 2-3 years into it. I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, this is a nonprofit that our mutual friend has started, and we would love to know if you could help us with this." So as she started explaining what it was, whatever event we were at, I just tuned it out completely. I was so zoned in to what she was saying, because it hit my heart. And I had been working for United Way for several years. So I knew that our county experienced a lot of homeless families. I was aware of that. That wasn't my department, but I was very well aware. Well, as it turned out, this particular organization focused only on teens that were in high school who were homeless. And through a process of their application, if they had to be involved in a school activity, and they had to have aspirations of doing something outside of school and certainly beyond once they graduated. So there were certain protocols that they had to meet, but they could fill out a form for a scholarship. And basically the scholarship was basically funding to help them participate in any school activity. It was providing transportation, not necessarily giving them a vehicle, but paying for transportation for them to get wherever they needed to be after school, even if they wanted to work. They had to keep a certain grade point average. So there were a lot of things that they had to fill out and complete and submit if they were interested in being supported financially. Well, one of the things that they decided to do in year one, they knew that these kids did not have funds for a graduation cap and gown, much less a photo session. So when I was asked to be a part of that, I didn't know what I was getting into. They certainly didn't know the ins and outs of photography. I jumped at it. So when we started getting into the program itself and how this would look, because they are protected, I don't even know their first names. We were not allowed to they knew mine, but I was not allowed to ask them at all any questions. They showed up with a counselor at a designated area that I chose. It had to be in a public place. And we just did their photo session. So the first year that I did it, there were 20 in the program. These were kids they came from about 5 different area high schools in our district. There were about 20 kids, and they gave them the option. Do you want to be part of this, where we will provide everything for you and you'll have a portrait session done, or not? Not all of them. In fact, the first year, I think we only had 2. We had 5 on the list, but only 2 showed up. So for whatever reason, again, I wasn't allowed to ask for those details, but I'll show you pictures of the ones that came. And one of the young ladies that you'll see, her school activity choice was a ROTC. And she was a Hispanic descent. And I was just talking to her about posing. That was it. She started divulging information, and it was okay for them to do that. I just couldn't ask. And what I learned from this young lady, she was very, you could just tell she had a very strong work ethic and very, very confident. I don't know exactly where her family was, but she was alone and she lived in her car. She had a car. And this young lady lived had her car in a parking lot. She was not allowed to stay there. So she had it someplace else. I don't know usually what happens in our area. There's wooded areas where folks will go. There's a lot of tents. I would imagine that's where she went because there were others there that were homeless. But to look at her, and you'll see her here in just a minute, and to talk to her, you would never, ever, ever guess that she was homeless, ever. She just seemed like a normal 18-year-old kid. But to have this life-altering challenge that was thrust upon her completely out, and not, something that she was not a part of, or she didn't choose to be a part of, was pretty amazing. So that was the first crack that opened. And I immediately thought, this is a whole different level of photography. This is a whole different level of photography. Rather than doing your normal, okay, whatever we do with our portraits. Okay, we're going to put your hand here. Now turn your chin. There was a gentleness. It was just a very unique vibe that you could just feel, just this current that you could just feel. And none of these kids knew each other. They all went to different schools. They didn't know each other. And what I thought was so interesting is while they were there, you could sense that they, with a complete unspoken word, they knew each other's heart. They knew each other's journey. They knew what they had gone through in school. And because they were a part of this program, they knew that each one had aspirations to create a different life for themselves, so to speak. So it was really interesting. And there were another young man who he actually showed up with his grandmother. And I think it was I don't know if it was a girlfriend, it was a girl. And they were friends, and he was extremely, very, very shy. So I talked to his grandmother. She was very friendly and said that she was going to be taking him in going forward. He wasn't there yet, but his grandmother was going to take him going forward. And even though he really didn't speak hardly at all, he was very much attached to this woman. And I wondered if whatever had happened to him, she was his saving grace. And you could just see on his face and see it in his eyes, and you might be able to pick it out too, that she was his lifeline. And she was very affectionate with him, and he was just very comforted by her presence there. There were two other young men that showed up, and they quickly became buddies. So I asked them at the end, each one of them took their portrait, and then I asked both of them, because I could see them talking off to the side while I was doing others. And I just said, hey, why don't we get a picture of the two of you? And they jumped at it. So I don't know this, but I often wonder if the two of them exchanged phone numbers and have stayed in touch, as they've gone off and gone their different ways after high school. Because they just seemed like they had known each other and they had never met, ever, ever, ever. One of them, toward the end, I noticed that he had a crucifix, a little chain necklace with a crucifix. And we were all about to go, and he came up to me and he said, "Do you mind? I have an idea for a picture." And I was like, "Okay, what you got?" So he said, I just want to take a picture of me holding my cross. So you'll see that one. And I said, okay. And I was thinking, he was holding it And at first I thought, well, maybe just shoot down where it's in his hand. But instead, I had him do, and I'm sure y'all have seen this, where they hold the object toward the lens, you focus on the object, and he's blurred in the back. So I did say, was it this is a lovely necklace? Was it given to you by someone special? And he said yes. And you could just tell by, he was there was a big long story behind that necklace that he wore. So I mean, it was just driving home, excuse me, driving home from that session, I couldn't wait to talk to my friend and tell him what all had happened and how it just transpired. And, he told me, he said, that's what people don't understand that are in our county, that we have hundreds of kids that are homeless in this county. And I mean, Linda, the Woodlands is an affluent area, very affluent. But what I'm finding out, and of course, through my work with United Way, obviously it's the entire district. It's not just the Woodlands. It's Conroe and Spring and Montgomery and Willis. It's a pretty big district. But it just strikes me that these children are unseen. And I thought this session, for giving them, and I gave them their images. I let them choose 5 images that they want. Any image they want, they got to choose them. They were fully edited. For them to see and I don't know anything about them, but for them to see what I see. I see this confident, caring, ambitious young person. And maybe they've never had anyone speak to them that way. So a little side note here, there's another nonprofit that I sit on the board for here in our area called Cassidy Join for Hope. And we work with preventing teen suicide. And our county has, I think, the 5th highest county in the state of Texas for teen suicide. And again, these are kids from all walks of life. They're ironically, most of them come from affluent families, which is very odd, but we're learning more and more and more about this community. And so after I did this one, I actually had a board meeting with the other organization, and I was telling them about this photo session and what hopefully would unfold with these kids. And we kind of started talking about that, and it's almost as if we have teens coming through our door through counselors or even parents that we help navigate through their mental health. But I was speaking to the rest of our members, and I said, what if we start doing this? These kids that come through our doors that are beaten down by life for whatever reason. Let's do an image. Let's do a photo session and show them what the world sees and let them see a different image of themselves. What would that do? Would it move the needle? Hopefully, I would think that it would. And so we have talked about that quite a bit. Well, the next year I got a call back from a nonprofit again, and it was this year. And they said, hey, I don't think they finished their sentence. And I was, like, yes, count me in. Tell me where. Yes, we're going to do it. So I got to meet a few more young students, and it was the same thing. It was the same vibe. There was this underlying current without them knowing each other. They don't know each other's first names at all. They knew. And it was like they lived a life far bigger than my life because of what they had gone through. And, I'm this way where I just feel there's always beauty from ashes, but sometimes it takes something completely out of their routine of life to flip that switch. So I did ask, I said, now that they're out of school and they've gone on, do you ever stay in touch with them? Do you ever know? I would love to know. I think it would be really cool for them to come back and share their story if they like. So, that's kind of the story beginning to end. So now I'll show you some of the images. So this is a sweet young lady that I mentioned to you about that lived alone in her car. But I'm immediately drawn to her smile because I just think she just feels confident, and I think just by them providing this cap and gown, and she has her JORTC stole on. I love this kid. She was very outgoing and sweet. And I give them confetti so they can blow confetti at the at the camera. This was a gentleman that was there with his grandmother. Very, very quiet. Didn't really say much, but I don't know. I think there's pain behind those eyes, but I think there's also resilience because he has someone in his corner. This was a sweet young man that wanted to photograph his necklace, and I think I put that one in here. He had a little confetti popper, so we let him pop his popper. This young man loved basketball. He did, he did kind of share that. This was the other young man, and you'll see he and the other gentleman with their picture together. He was just very, very bubbly. Just had such a great attitude. He was a really, really, really nice young man. And they all just seemed to have this quiet strength about them. It's hard to explain. I didn't expect that. I really didn't. It's everything that I drove away from. There they are. Just buds. They're just buds. Oh, it was the Mother Mary. That's what he had in his 2024. His house, his entire family was homeless. They lost their house in a fire. And I think a family member was also affected by that. But they have been living. So the other thing that the organization does, they'll pay for, there's a specific hotel that's here on our main highway. And the primary purpose of the hotel is for homeless families. They're only allowed to stay there a certain time for obvious reason. But when there's a student involved and when that student is making good grades and they have an extra job, they allow for allowances to let them stay longer. And he was one of them. She was very, very quiet, sweet, sweet, sweet young girl. She wanted to be a nurse, and she had worked with her school nurse, I think the last semester of school, just to, she didn't want to leave school. They're dismissed early. Well, she doesn't have a place to go. So she would stay at school, and the nurse allowed her to come in and just kind of help. And she really struck an friendship with the school nurse and decided that was a vocation that she wanted to pursue. But just a darling, teeny tiny little thing. And she too did not have family members helping her. So that's kind of it. Yeah. Wait, am I back on?
You are.
Okay. Yeah. So that was over the course of 2 different summers, this year and last summer. And the organization is still doing quite well. So I'm really hoping, I told them, please let me do it again. And it's all pro bono. This is something that I donate to them. And it's usually about 20 minutes per, because it's not like they've got, seniors today, they've got 4 outfits. They'll do a fall session and a spring session, and, they want their car and no, no, no. That's all they have.
Mhm.
So it's not a long session. We don't do hair and makeup and all the zhuzh. Um,
This is the second year they've done this
mhm,
program.
mhm.
Yeah. So I can imagine them not trying to continue it.
Yeah.
Um, is this, and maybe you said it, and I missed it. Is it, s- who sponsors it? Who is it? Is it the school that, I mean, are you the only volunteer that, only photographer they've used?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do not mind keeping it that way. I mean, of course, as it grows, they'll need
Sure.
more, which I think would be great. But I think if it gets to that point, I, now I'm vetted, not vetted, but now I'm
Yeah.
emotionally attached to it.
Yeah.
So if they get to that point, I would definitely tell them, let me help you find the photographers, because I think there's a certain, I just think there's a certain photographer that would fit this mold perfectly. And that's what they need. I don't want, you know what I mean? I just think I would be just a little bit picky okay, wait, we got to find the right people.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, you're invested. You're
Yeah.
emotionally
Yes.
invested. And that is the gift that you bring to the table for them is you kind of care. You care
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
shows and listening to you speak about them, it shows through your face. You
Oh,
know,
thank you.
you they brought you joy, they brought you
Yeah.
fulfillment, and you are using a skill set that you have that you probably think, oh, this is just something I do. But what you're doing is so much more for these individual
Hmm.
kids. And
Yeah.
we were talking about it before we started recording. It's like, yeah, they're 18 years old. They're probably not thinking about this too much. But add 30 years to their life, they're going to be so, so appreciative to have these photos of them when
Right.
they're young. You know,
Right.
beautiful professional photos that they will have that for the rest of their life. So
Right.
thank you for doing that. Thank you for
Oh, well,
sharing. And
thank you.
yeah, and I don't even remember what got us started talking. And I am just, I don't know. There was just something. There were this room for the, let me go back. It was a business conference for photography. It was a kind of a symposium. It was an all day thing.
Yeah.
I was just there, like I said, hand holding, babysitting, handing out flyers for the keynote speaker, I
Keynote.
guess. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, there was a room full of photographers,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, you stepped into my path, and I was really drawn to you. And I was like, okay, let me just talk to you for a minute. And as soon as you said, I'm a portrait photographer. I came in from Houston. I'm just here to learn. And I was like, oh, you're just perfect. You're just perfect for this. And so your energy was something that I just wanted to grab onto and bring it to this room. So,
Oh,
attendees, thank you for indulging me yet again with a speaker that I wanted to listen to. So, um, and I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say. It was really about you coming in and sharing just a little bit of this project with us.
mm,
And there are other people in this room that volunteer their time. I know I haven't seen her in a long time. Sue Pitts is in this room, and I know Sue from, Texas. She now lives in Montana. But one of the things that she did, she reached out to an animal rescue rehab center, and she volunteered her time to photograph these animals that were, being taken care of at this rehabilitation area,
wow.
center program they had. And it's donating your time.
Mm,
Photographers, yes, we all want to make money. We all are trying to make a living. but we all
Yeah.
have this little secret passion that we want to, that means something to us.
Yeah.
And our skill set is with a camera. And if you have the extra time, reach out to a program that you kind of care about, and you want
Yeah.
to give them some of your time. And they would be fools not to say yes to you. So don't be afraid to do that. So,
Mm.
Jodie, thank you so much for coming and sharing what you know and what you've
Oh,
learned. And
sure.
there were some, I mean, looking there, I don't see any questions, but man, there's some nice um, comments in here, and I just lied. So, Donna's question to you, and this is a great question. Do you provide them with prints or digital copies of the images? How do you get those to those kids?
I wanted them to have both because I just didn't know their situation. So well, I had to send everything to a counselor,
Right.
not the school counselor. It's the representative from the organization that handles their case. So
Mhm.
all communication went that way. So I sent her a gallery and just said, have the student pick their favorite five, and
Mhm.
here we go. So what they ended up doing, I would just give them the digital file, but then the organization would print out the prints for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, this is me butting in. Okay,
Mhm.
so Shirley says our local photo club is also trying to offer senior portraits to our community that is very financially challenged as part of their own give back mission. So, not that Shirley's asking, but if Shirley's group had any questions, how do you go about this? Can she reach out to you? Are you
Oh
willing
my
to
gosh, yes.
help other people? So,
Yeah.
do you have can they reach out to you through your website, like an email there? Is that
Or
okay?
just or email it, and it's exactly what you had said earlier. It's Jodie Lane, Lane, photography at yahoo.com.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's Jodie, Jodie.
IE. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jodie Lane Photography at yahoo.com. Look at that. I got her email address.
Yay.
So, and I'm not just doing that for Shirley's group, but anybody, because I think that people genuinely want to help. They just don't know where to
Yes.
start sometimes.
Yes.
And you've hit one of the markers that maybe you don't know at all, but you're one marker ahead of somebody that's just starting to think
Mhm.
about, hey, this is something I'd want to do. So, yeah,
And
that'd
I
be
think
great.
you had mentioned it too. And I think this is my biggest takeaway from all of that. And another reason why I admire all of y'all so much, because y'all are so for much further down the line than I am with your skill set and your knowledge. And one day I'm going to get there. But here's what I think. You're what you do, your gift, your natural talent to take photographs, whatever that is,
Mhm.
it's bigger than us. And that's what I'm finding more and more. It's just bigger than us. And
Mhm.
I realized that day. I
Yeah.
it was just a different, it's a photo session. Yes, it's a photo session, but it was a lot bigger than that.
Mhm.
So,
And
and I think you as all professional photographers too, you walk away impacted.
oh yeah, how could you not? How
Yeah.
could you not walk away thinking, gosh, what more can I do? You know,
Yeah.
uh, so
Yeah.
plus Jody, thanks for coming and sharing and
Sure.
talking about this. And just so we're very, what's the word, transparent,
Hmm.
Jody did, talk to the organization, got permission to share these photos and some of the stories. And we were very careful to not share names. And thankfully, you didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
But there was just something that we were trying to figure out, how do we do this without being disrespectful or sharing too
Mm.
much,
Right.
privacy. And the purpose of this was really to share. It could be any organization. Like
Mhm.
this happened to be teen homelessness, but there are so many other um, uh, organizations that
Yeah.
could, benefit from you as a photographer to say, I have a camera, I have a couple of hours, how can I help? So
Yeah.
that's the point that I wanted to get across is that, this happens to be um, your little project and your cup of tea. So for somebody else like Valerie Hoffman, who was petting kittens in the waiting room earlier, that just leads you down to the next pet shelter to help. So
Yes.
all
That's a
right.
great
Okay. Well,
idea.
let me go ahead and close out this session. If you can stick around, we'll bring people back into the room. All right. Next week, Darlene Perkin is going to be here. She's in here tonight. I saw her sneak in. And another Linda's Selfish Happiness Hour is that my love is travel. And Darlene spends part of her year at home in Canada and part of her time she spends in Mexico. And I asked her if she'd come and do another presentation for me. And she said, I've been wanting to work on a project. And her presentation is called Doorways of Mexico. So she'll be here next week. Until next time, go out and create something beautiful. And I hope that we see you again soon.